Well, hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and so we're starting a new series. Land of the Lustrous! Okay, so here's the scoop. I talked about this in my November update video, so if you've not seen that on the channel, go check that out, like, ASAP, and you'll find out the whole entire scoop. But basically, long story short, I had a poll to replace Berserk on my channel, and the top two came down to one vote, separating them from the winner and the not winner. And so, no big deal. Everything's fine. But I'll be honest with y'all, I was really kind of rooting for this series from the start. I don't know. There was just something about the name Land of the Lustrous that I was like, that sounds pretty cool. And it's only 12 episodes. So that's going to be a nice little short, like, let's watch that and see what happens. And I was kind of rooting for it because I like watching like little nice 12 episode series that you can get through, but also like gives you a nice dose. And it was highly recommended. It had a lot of recommendations on the nomination form that Patreon filled out to replace Berserk. So I thought, okay, cool. That means that people really like it. So I value your opinions. So I was really excited. And so I decided that I'm going to watch this series because I really wanted to, and I'm not going to deny myself being able to react to it. But I am not going to guarantee this is going to be an every Saturday occurrence. Unlike Dororo, which did win by the one vote, it is going to be every Saturday because that's only fair. Since we're doing this one as like a consolation reaction, I'm going to try to do it every Saturday if I can. My brother and I also have a show that we want to watch as well, and if we get a chance to, it might go between those two reactions. We'll have to wait and see what that's like. But with that being said, my goal is to try to do it every Saturday, but there may be some missed. And so you'll have to forgive me for those. I'll do the best that I can. But this is not going to be, I'm not going to commit to an every weekend sort of thing with this. We'll just watch it as we go. But hopefully it works out that way. I hope you all can understand, especially seeing how busy my channel is this month. But I couldn't wait. I was like, I want to go ahead and watch it, see what happens, and dive right in. So that's where I'm at. But with that being said, I know nothing about this series. Absolutely nothing. Like I said, it was 12 episodes. The name sounded interesting and everyone recommended it. So I was like, all right, that's all I know. I go into this channel knowing nothing, and that's how I like it. So I will have a moderator for this channel that will be checking comments to make sure there are no spoilers. But otherwise, it's going to be really fun to dive into this series and just see what all we get and go from there. So I'm pretty excited about it. I want to give a special shout out though, as I found out today, from patron and philanthropy tier member that we'll talk about here in a second, Liam Poles. So this one, and I was like, okay, I want to watch it today. So I went on to the main anime streaming service that starts with a C that you all probably know about. They don't have it. Then I was like, where can you watch it? And it was like, oh, it's on Prime. So I went to another streaming service. It's not available in my country. I went to another streaming service. It's no longer on there. So this is like, it's the streaming lost media. It's like Revolutionary Girl Utena. Where is it? We don't know. But I was like, well, son of a bitch. So Liam Poles was super awesome. They got me the files. I've already downloaded all of them, so I'm going to be set to go, ready to go to watch this series, and I hate that it's nowhere to be seen. So because of that, we're going to do something special. There is a link down below to the reaction. Please go down below in the link to watch it, and we'll do the discussion up here. And do it that way, since it's not apparently licensed anywhere that we know of. So that's what we're going to be doing. But with that being said, I'm super excited to find out what happens. I want to give a very quick shout out over to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon because y'all are amazing. To Alex Cornejo, Anime Annie, Be Happy, Bryant Reed, BBT, Dana, Danny Donmai, Devorin, Damage3245, Danger Zone, as well as Destiny Marie, Ichu, Eric, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, El Freya, Liam Poles, thank you, my friend, as well as Lyndon, Matthew Palfiniere, Murphew, Nameless Monster, Nicholas, I wanted to combine them together and fuse them together, as well as Sunspots, Shimoyama Trails, Translucent Men, Alexander Q, and Maroni W. Thank you all so much for your support, as well as all of you on Patreon, those of you that subscribe on YouTube. I'm at 11,000. I'm so excited. all of my love. So, yes, let's see. I got my coffee ready. I'm excited. I want to see what Land of the Lustrous is about. We only got 12 episodes, so there's probably going to be a lot going on. So I'm super excited, but we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to dive right into Land of the Lustrous, episode 1, see what we get, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's jam. Well. Oh my gosh. Like you all may or may not understand, but 10-year-old me that did not have their ears pierced, that was taking like the gemstone stick-on earrings. I am sitting here going, yes, please. as Huckleberry is begging me to throw his toy. Yes. So, okay. I did look it up. Okay. So Ruby, which is an American animated series, it's by Monty Ohm. It originally came out in 2013 as an animated feature, which is insane. That's been 11 years since it's been out. Oh my God. It came out in 2013. And I want to say that when I looked this up, that this is based off of a manga that started in 2012, but the anime didn't come out to 2017. So there seems to be a lot of influence back and forth between this, particularly in the animation style of this and Ruby. But the animation came after Ruby, so if there was any inspiration, could have been that. But there's no telling if Monty was inspired by this when writing Ruby. There's no telling, right? I didn't start watching Ruby till like 2016 when it was like 3 volumes in. So that's so interesting to me. But there's also like Sailor Moon vibes. I could see some Bleach influence. There's various influences throughout this, but I'm very intrigued. A fantasy story involving like themed characters around gemstones. The child in me that grew up with Sailor Moon, where things were organized by planets, I'm fine with this being organized by gemstones and minerals instead. The grade school science nerd in me is so excited. I was like, I haven't heard of some of these in so long. And also, there's like other references that have come out as well. So we're going to talk about them throughout this episode because I got things to discuss. But okay, so this is Whiteboard Coon. If you've never read Whiteboard Coon before, Whiteboard Coon helps me in explaining all things. And I feel like it was important to bring Whiteboard Coon out because let's be real. Let's be honest. There are 28, apparently, different gems. We're just going to call them gems right now, even though they are also minerals. Along with adamant. Adamant. So Master Adamant. Now, I was thinking with adamant and adamantium, which is in X-Men, which is the metal that Wolverine's claws are made out of. But when I looked up adamant, it's actually an archaic form of a diamond. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes so much sense because he's one of the stronger ones. Diamonds are some of the strongest gemstones for their hardness. Hardness seems to be something important, which we're going to talk about. So this seems to be an archaic form of a diamond. Now, speaking of which, we might as well put it out there. There are different characters we should know about. We have Foss, which will go along with. We also have Cinnabar, which will go along with. And we'll talk about these. Gaucher. And then there's the pink-haired one that I've got put down here. And then we have the doctor, the quack. And then we also know that we met Daya. Now, Daya obviously is connected to Diamond, right? That seems obvious. Now, whether Daya is related to Adamant or not, because they're both kind of around the same type of mineral or gems, that remains to be seen. Oh, and Helio. Gotta get them on here. Heliodor. Okay. Which is on there as well. So we've got to meet a fair crew. We also got to see more of the others that are also included in this. They just haven't all been named yet, but I'm sure that we'll meet most of the 28 gemstones in this as well. The animation style is really intriguing to me. It is this interesting mixture between being 2D animation, like in the intro, and the beginning of the episode, and then it goes to like some CGI, and it looks interesting. I mean, to get the jewel tones and the kind of like 3D quality of their hair and the colors and the translucent transparency of it, I could see why you'd want to go with CGI because it makes them look very transparent, which is the kind of the point. That'd be kind of hard to animate, honestly. It would take a lot of, it's like that would be like Studio Ghibli levels of animation for an episode of a TV series, right? But instantly we get to know that Cinnabar is lonely and they're all by themselves. And so their whole thing is that they are waiting to be taken away because they don't feel like they belong. Because apparently they are toxic. Their hardness is like 2.0. And they just want to be of use. We also established that there are people on the moon that are trying to quote unquote harvest them for jewelry, which sounds terrifying. And we'll talk more about that as we get into the episode. So I went ahead and looked up a couple of these things real quick to kind of just go through it. Cinnabar is red, obviously. It also has a hardness of 2. And it also has connections to mercury. That's why whenever it's like in its liquid form, it like with those little globs that were floating, I was like, what is that? It's like mercury, which mercury is highly poisonous. You're not supposed to touch it. So that makes sense. And mercury poisoning is also connected to memory loss, which is tied to why they're like, if it touches you, it could cause memory loss and you to lose parts of yourself. So yeah. So I think the whole thing is the tie to memory loss is important. But I feel for Cinnabar. Cinnabar is instantly relatable. Instantly relatable. I'm like, okay, I'm getting definitely like what am I trying to think of? Sasuke flashbacks for Naruto of being just like, you would think Cinnabar with its backstory and his description so far would be like Sasuke from Naruto, where he'd be super angsty and against the world, but he's really not. He's just kind of like, I'm just kind of over it, right? And they don't want to fight, but he's being forced to, and that's the only, he doesn't want to, I feel like Cinnabar is trying to struggle with the fact that they want to live, but they also don't, and they want to live, they don't want to fight, but they want to have belonging, and they're just kind of in this world where they don't fit in at all, and it's so sad, and I feel for Cinnabar. I want to give them a hug, but that's interesting. Then we have PHOSPHOPHYLLITE, or Foss, which I looked up the gemstone. PHOSPHOPHYLLITE looks exactly like the same color as the gemstone hair, which is amazing. So PHOSPHOPHYLLITE, their hardness is 3.5. So a little bit more than Cinnabar. Also talks about is a rare mineral. So a rare composed of hydrated zinc phosphate. So they are rare. Which, look, maybe it's all the Danmai that I have read. Maybe it's all the anime and manga that I have seen. But for some reason, every time there is a overarching male authoritarian figure amongst a bunch of other, which these gemstones are presumably male presenting or non-binary. Anytime there's like a male authoritative figure amongst a bunch of teenagers that have skills, I instantly question said authoritative figure. So Adamant, I'm instantly like, I don't know, Heaven Official's Blessing spoilers for the next 10 seconds. I instantly got with Adamant in Heaven Official's Blessing Junwoo vibes. Instantly. And I was like, I don't know. And so, end of Heaven Official's Blessing spoilers. I instantly was like, if you have PHOSPHOPHYLLITE, which is a rare gem, I could see why he wouldn't want them to fight. But then I'm like, okay, is it because of the hardness and them being like very fragile? Or is it because he's a rare gemstone? You don't want him to get taken away. And you're just keeping him busy doing other things. It says it is rarely cut because it's fragile and brittle. And large crystals are too valuable to be broken up. And the finest PHOSPHOPHYLLITE crystals come from, it tells where they are actually from. It's been synthesized by diammonium phosphate and a solution to create a synthesized version of it. Okay, cool. Well, that's nice to know. Good to know about them. We'll go back to them as we go through this episode. But I think that that's important to note. So yeah, I instantly like the character designs. They all have like the black uniforms. Their body types are all very, they are very like little bells. They all got booties. They all got booties and just flat chested. So I make what you will of that. They're fantasy characters. But they all have the masculine pronoun, which is interesting because, I mean, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I didn't know if it was a translation thing at first, but maybe that's just it. I know in Japanese there are some pronouns for non-binary, but I think they're more recent. So I don't know if this translation had that or not. I mean, it's fine if they're all male characters. I think it's interesting because if that's the case, you have these male characters, like Cinnabar wears high heels. They have like more traditionally feminine aspects to their clothing that usually emphasize characteristics on female characters. If you're giving them to male characters, that's an interesting choice, and I kind of like it. It's nice to subvert that a little bit. But also, if they're all male characters, then presuming that their strength is determined by their hardness, you do with that what you will. So I think that's interesting. So I'm sure people will comment down below what is up with the pronouns and if they all are male characters or if there's something non-binary there or what the case may be. But yeah, so they're talking about they all have jobs and that they have to alert the master because there are sunspots. And so then what do they say here? He says there, he's older than he looks after all. They're like, well, you're acting busy. They're like, today's the day I actually fight. So then we have, this one I'm sure is Emerald. The other one that has the silver and blue hair, I don't know exactly who they would be. Adamant also has, again, like, what's so interesting about this is that we literally, in Dororo and in this series, and I'm going to give like some mild Dororo spoilers if you're watching this at the same time. It's kind of crazy because in the first episode, you have two characters that have the ghetto garb from Jujutsu Kaisen already, the monk garb. You have two characters that have that. You also have like this Pinocchio puppet style character decision for the narration and the main character for both characters, for both Kikimaru and Foss. So I'm like, there are elements of both of these shows that in the first episode are very similar. And I'm like, what? So that's kind of wild to me, but end of Dororo spoilers. So yeah, Foss is instantly brittle, and we established that. And they're like, oh, we can handle this. Now, these beings coming out of the Rosarch art test, the ink blot test, that come out look like they are something from Puella Magi Madoka Magica, which I'm not complaining about. That's not a bad thing. But they, like, I'm so curious, like, what these beings are that are harvesting that just come out trying to gather up the gemstones. It's very, very abstract, very culturally symbolic, I am sure. And it's just wild. I'm here for it, but it is wild. And they're here to gather up the gemstones. And they have like a little basin that they're gathering them up. So Morga and Gauche saw one of the Lunarian sunspots. So we have this idea of a Lunarian sunspots, which I'm assuming means they come out during the day to try and steal away the gems. Adamant is huge. He's just a very hulking figure that's very domineering there. And so Morga and Gauche, and of course he's worried that they're going to get taken away. And he's like, it was small. They said they could handle it. And he's like, nope, gonna go take care of it myself with my cape on, looking very ominous and authoritative. So yeah, the arrows that they fire aren't really even arrows that have ends to them. They're just there to catch them, which is fascinating. But yeah, the fact that they're kind of immortal and they just, as long as they can get their pieces back together, they can reconstruct. It's just that if they get corrupted by something like Cinnabar, they will get poisoned and lose their memories, is wild to me. Interesting that we have these immortal gemstones that can turn into people. So, okay. And then, yeah, the one Lunarian sunspot had like the lotus pod head, which is so crazy to me. And then, okay, so from inside the sunspot's head were spears that were made out of the one person, which is wild to me. Like, so Heliodor was made into a weapon by whoever gathered them and harvested him. So what? And those colors of the arrowheads. Yeah, they're pieces from Heliodor's capture. So they captured him and turned him into a weapon. And they're like, well, we'll just get him back and put him back together. Which is insane. So yeah, so Adamant also like has this sweeping black cape that makes him look like Voldemort. But it's fine. So, okay, he says, what does he say there? He says, while their hunters sweep down in countless numbers from the moon, we only have 28 of us. Okay. The skilled work in pairs and some keep lookout. I'm curious if there were more originally and they're just down to 28, or if there's always been a select number. Like some fight, each of us have our own skills that we use to fulfill our goals and help one another. And then we see them all like Naruto running towards the battle. But you seem fit for none, and so I was at a loss. With your physical condition and your incomparable clumsiness, I love it. There's nothing for you to rely on. And he's like, well, don't just count me out. Let me fight. And he's like, there's no way you can fight. So yeah, they're like all the gatherers, like all the hunters are gathering up all the gemstones and putting them into baskets. Now when Adamantium snaps his fingers, they instantly disappear. To me, that seems rather suspicious. Because if he could just go around and snap his fingers and they're all gone, how does that work? Did he make them disappear? Did he kill them? We don't exactly know. But they're like, yikes, there they are, the pieces. And so, oh, they're like looking out for your elders. And he says, you're still incapable, you fools. Now he gets mad and does this wave and knocks them all back, and he falls apart completely. And he's like, you are particularly fragile and your hardness is only 3.5. So I guess he got mad because they got in this battle and he's like, none of you are capable of doing anything. So he got mad and like basically exerted all this force, which is interesting. Adamant's interesting. I don't know what to make of him yet, so I feel like we'll find out more as we go. And it says the Lunarians are fond of your peppermint color. Interesting. We need to wipe out an entire army in one fell swoop, and you would need to be stronger. So basically that's why maybe they instantly showed up whenever Foss was around Cinnabar, because they were instantly drawn to him, I guess. But yeah, he's like, then you'll compile our encyclopedia. I like how they explain what an encyclopedia is, because yeah, I feel like my generation was the last generation that probably ever had to use an encyclopedia. And I would say up until high school, we used encyclopedias, and you just looked in books for the meanings of words. You couldn't type it into a search engine on the internet and it instantly pop up. No, you had to go find that stuff in an index, and it took a long time, and you felt real satisfied when you found the answer. But that's neither here nor there. So yeah. So they decided to give this job to Foss to compile the encyclopedia. I love the idea of when the jewel is like all the cuts together that are all gathered up. And they're like, you have to use creativity and intelligence to do this important task. And of course, Foss is like, well, that just seems like you're just throwing this on me so I don't have to go out in the battlefield. It says, if you wish to fight, you have to train your eyes to this task. You first have to you have to study before you can fight. And then I like the one that has the blue hair is like, you've got quite a mouth to sass back to the master. You don't even do anything. So we find out that they're basically immortal. You can put them back together. And they're like, you put my legs on backwards last time. They do still feel pain when they're putting themselves back together. So Helios in pieces, we can reform him if we get him all back. And they say, of course, our bodies, how do they describe it there? How do they describe that? I want to go back to that. It says, our bodies are, they're like, of course we can. Our bodies are home to microscopic organisms called inclusions. And the inclusions let us, even if we break, forge ourselves back together. So all of them are made up of these little tiny microscopic beings called inclusions that allow them to exist. Okay. We will go with that. Like, as long as you got enough pieces, we can do what no other living being can. I like they spray paint the makeup over the cracks. And then they just go right back to work. Like it's nothing. Okay. So, I want to find out what the doctor's name is. And they're like, okay, what is their name? My only friend here is you. Yeah, poor Foss. The only friend they have is the clipboard. And Cinnabar now. So, okay, we got here. Yep, PHOSPHOPHYLLITE, a phosphate mineral. We get the formula for them, monoclinic, and its scale of hardness is 3.5. So yeah, so Foss is trying to figure out what to do, how to put together the encyclopedia. Ghosh and Madra try to give him a hard time. And they're like, well, we don't really know what to do. We're not familiar with that sort of thing. They can't put together an encyclopedia, and they leave to go fight. So Foss is left wondering, what in the world am I going to do? What discovery can I make that they don't know about? Now, Morga and Gaucher are two types of beryl gems. So we have Morga and Heliodor and Gaucher, and they're all, I'm going to put them up there. They're all type of beryl gems. So the way that we describe them, the way that they're described online is that there's Goshenite and there's Morganite. Morganite is a rose pink beryl. Goshenite is a translucent beryl. And then Heliodor is a golden beryl. And so they're basically, they're just generally, it says that they're all forms that could become emeralds, which is fun, which is cool. It says that the golden beryl could become an emerald. It's sometimes synonymous with Heliodor. It has very few flaws, unlike an emerald does. Interesting. Okay. There is an emerald on there, and there's also, there's aquamarine or maxite. I wonder if the one that's two-toned with two different hair colors is maxite, is aquamarine, because it shows silver and blue. I bet that's what it is. I bet that it is aquamarine. And I bet the other one is emerald. And they're all forms of beryl. And then, let's see what the doctor is called. Was it Rubio? Which would be, interesting, which would be a ruby. It says red beryl is Bixbyite. Bixbyite. I don't think that's it. We'll go back to that. Anyway, so they're all forms of beryl. It doesn't really say their hardness on here, but we might find that out. So yeah, so they all tell them to go find Cinnabar, which is interesting that they recommend that Foss go find Cinnabar when they're poisonous. And it's like, okay. And so it's like, I like that the doctor's like, I know about glues and powders, but you need to find something new. So you could go talk to Cinnabar. You might ask if he knows something. And Foss is like, come on, wouldn't you know more than anyone? But you're brushing me off because you're busy. And they're like, well, I could spare some time to sew your mouth shut if that was a problem. And so I want to say, is Rubile the other one's name? I want to look this up real quick. I think that they said their name was Rubile. Oh, yeah. Rubile gem. It's like the first thing that pops up. Which is a ruby. Okay. They do say Rubilite is a little bit different than rubies. So, interesting. Okay. I guess that's... Yeah, it just says that they're rubies. I think that it's kind of cool that the ruby one has like a golden undertone, but that could relate to the golden beryl, maybe. Maybe, possibly. But yeah, so Foss wonders why Cinnabar is all by themselves. And that's when the doctor says that Cinnabar has silvery poison, which is mercury, that has this faint nightlight and allows for patrols in the dark. They're so pretty. Cinnabar looks gorgeous. I love it. Also, we all are thinking it. If you played Pokemon in the 90s, now all I'm thinking of is Cinnabar Island. And possibly that it had a volcano and was poisonous. So fun times. But yeah, I love it. I love everything. The Lunarians don't show themselves at night. Which is funny that they're Lunarians and related to the moon, but they don't show themselves at night. I guess that's just the way that it works. Sure. And they're like, well, then why have a lookout if they don't show up? And they're like, well, that's just his job. And it gets him out of the way when nobody else is around him because he's a danger to society. You know, like you do. And Foss is like, well, I don't really exactly want to go see him. They're like, if any part of you comes in contact with this poison, light will no longer pass through it. And it'll have to be chipped off of you. And you'll lose the memories held within those chipped pieces. So, like they said, if they don't have all the pieces when they put you back together, there'll be memories missing. So if you get contaminated, then that's going to cause you not to remember either. Which, you know, two characters that are developing a friendship and getting to know each other, them suddenly, you know, possibly having like a Romeo and Juliet style, you cause the other person to forget your existence, and that being a possibility. I can't possibly see this season doing anything like that. I'm like, you are setting us up for an angsty, bittersweet ending with like Foss losing their memory of Cinnabar or something like that. You are setting us up. Okay. But anyway, so Foss is trying to figure out what to do. And they're like, oh, great master scholar. I could be great master scholar. I'll make Cinnabar my assistant. Sure thing. I'll finish the encyclopedia and make a grand discovery, and that'll be my job. It'll be great. I'll have everyone's admiration, and then I'll join the battle. That'll be it. I love they're doing this self-affirmation. Benito! Okay, there. I was like, there's one more. Who is Benito? Benito. Interesting. Oh, is Benetwite? Benetwite? Okay. Is a rare blue barium, titanium cyclosicate mineral, or serpentinite. Okay. So we also have Benito. Cool. Yay! Awesome. Now they have a hardness of like 6.5. Theirs is significantly higher than the others, which is good to know, which might be why they were able to be next to Cinnabar. Now, Cinnabar's room looks pretty rough. It's just like poison everywhere and the blinds are ruined. Not the best. We see the ruby one going there. Cinnabar's been gone for a while now. And they're like, what do you mean you're a helper? I'm not helping you. Okay. They have just a thankless job. So Foss goes looking for them. And I want to note this. They had the footstep, and they're like, let's go find Cinnabar. And then what we end up seeing is like what seems to be left over, like a butterfly, and the leftover stuff from Cinnabar, like the mercury that's killed the butterfly. What sucks is that like Cinnabar is a walking disaster. They like everything that they touch ends up getting poisoned, and they talk about how they can't inhabit the space around Cinnabar like for a while after they've been there because of the mercury poisoning. So it kind of sucks. Cinnabar is just kind of like, everything I touch is horribly ruined. And it's like, it reminds me again, Heaven Official's blessing of Hua Chong's character a little bit, which is interesting. I can see the Hua Chong and Cinnabar comparisons. But yeah, they went ahead and saved Foss and then had this moment. They're like, of course you'd come 3.5, meaning their hardness, describing them that way. And then Cinnabar, like the fight between Cinnabar and the Lunarians is really good. I love it. And they're like, why would you come now? My breathing kills the grass and earth itself. Like, I don't want to ruin anymore. So Cinnabar's like, why did you show up? They're like, I'm a walking disaster. I don't want to fight. I just want them to take me. But then, like, the actual poison itself goes into Cinnabar, and they, like, throw up all of these various warriors and everything. I don't know if it's like an act of self-harm or what it is, but it's really, really disturbing. So yeah, Cinnabar fights them and is about to fall off the edge, and Foss goes out of his way to save him. Now, his arms broke, and it looked like Cinnabar was falling, but then they show up behind them. So I'm like, it's just such a moment. You're like, well, did he fall off? Is he behind Foss? What's the deal? And he's like, you didn't have to help me. And then And then Cinnabar manages to save Foss there and get all the contaminated parts away. Luckily, they get everything, their skin and stuff, all put back on, and the doctor asks if they've forgotten anything, and Foss says, I'm never going to forget today, so no. Cinnabar didn't want to fight, but still saved me. So yeah, but the area there is now stagnant, and the water, flora, and fauna will be of no use for some time. The truth is that Cinnabar is incredibly bright and gifted, but because his touch brings ruin, we have no way of handling it. So we forced him away. I feel like that's a big symbolic, kind of like, sort of the theme of if you have someone who is gifted, but their gift seems harmful, or if there's not a known way to control it, then the answer is to push them away. And I feel like that happens in real life with people where they're gifted and talented, but because the majority of the population around them doesn't know what to do with that gift or doesn't know how to handle it, they're just like, we're just gonna push you away. And that's what they end up doing. And you're like, but what why? And that's just their way of handling it. And you're like, but is that the best way to do it? And it feels like such a disservice to someone that has talent, because Cinnabar is clearly smart and kind and, resourceful. Their ability is just hazardous to others. And that is what makes it hard for them to know what to do with him. Like, is that all we can do? And so then they say, well, rigorous, meaningful work is the best medicine when you're questioning your place in the world. So basically the doctor's like, well, you know what? We don't know what to do with him, but as long as he's working hard, he's found a place in the world and everything's okay. And Foss is kind of like, I don't know if that's exactly true or not. That doesn't seem to be the case. They can't die, so they simply have to face these problems until they eventually find an answer. So yeah. So then they're like, where does Cinnabar stay during the day? And they try to figure it out. And then we see Daya. Now, Daya is beautiful. Clearly related to a diamond. Seems, I don't know if they're supposed to seem suspicious. They just kind of show up for a hot second to show their presence and that they're there. But I'm like, should we be wary of Daya? Or should we, because Daya surely is probably the strongest of them. I don't know. Anyway, they're like, Cinnabar's like, I'm just here because, I'm worried that you're just brittle little stone. What can you do? And Foss is like, well, this is my job. I want you to work with me. And that's when Cinnabar says, I've been waiting for the Lunarians to take me away, but they won't. And instead they come after you. So then Cinnabar points out all the things that he's found that would be useful for the encyclopedia. And Foss is like, well, I'm going to find something more fun than the night watch that only you can do. And you can help me do that. And you'll be useful. Wouldn't that sound great? And Cinnabar's like, sure. And you can see where Cinnabar has been walking the same path over and over again so that they don't destroy everything else around. It's just that path that gets destroyed. I love Cinnabar's character already, and I feel so bad for them already. Also, so this school and everything, all these trees look like they're kind of like dying. These little trees are dying there, which is curious. Interesting. So then Morga shows up along with Gaucher, and Foss is trying to figure out what to do. And Cinnabar's like, I couldn't sleep because I like that Cinnabar said I couldn't sleep because this clipboard was flapping around. I'm like, was it really? Were you really not able to sleep because Foss left something there? And I love the back and forth. It's like, it's classic, like, just build me the ship already. Let it set sail with Foss and Cinnabar, where Foss is just being like, you baka. Of course you're useful. Don't say that you're not. And Cinnabar's like, well, I'm not going to be bothered by Foss and their attempts at trying to get me to do things. But then they turn back around and they see the handprint on the clipboard and are reminded that Foss reached out to try to help them and is the only person so far that has done so. Yeah. It's so sad. Poor Cinnabar. Cinnabar being like, I just want to not hurt people. This stupid thing. But still. And then Foss says, I don't want you to go away. Oh, it's so cute. So freaking cute. Okay. It is going to bother me if I don't know the name of that doctor and I can't find the one screenshot to get it perfect on there. So I want to just see the doctor's name. That's all I got to see. And then I will be happy and I will be able to live with my life. Okay. So where is the doctor? Who is the doctor's name? Gotta find it real quick. The doctor's name. Doctor's name. Wish that we could find the doctor's name. Rutile! Rutile. There we go. What is the rutile gem? Is it a quartz? I was like, I know that it's not a ruby, so let me figure out rutile. That was just, it's gonna drive me crazy. Okay, so it's a quartz. Okay, great. It is an oxide mineral. It has a hardness, does it say exactly, of 6 to 6.5. Nice. Great. It's from titanium dioxide. Okay, it does have like a translucent, like a golden ruby color to it. Nice. Cool. It's highly refractive and has visible wavelengths and is polarizing. Can have infrared rays tied to it. Fun time. Great. Cool. Well, now I feel better. I was like, where the fudge is, what is it? It's rutile. Okay. So yeah, I am all for this. So we have Foss, who is the rare gemstone that is trying to create this encyclopedia to be worthy and have a job. Cinnabar is the other useless gemstone, and both of these fellows are trying to find their way, trying to find their usefulness, and I'm already shipping them. You have the innocent, sweet Foss, and you have the toxic but vulnerable Cinnabar. Chef's kiss. Then we have Gaucher, Amorga, and Heliodor that are the beryl gemstones, along with Aquamarine and Emerald that were featured but not given a name, but I'm pretty sure that's what they were. Then we have Rutile, who is the doctor. Then Dia makes a brief appearance, and they're the diamond, I'm assuming. And then there is Benito and Adamant. So, all right! I'm super excited. This was a really good first episode to at least get introduced to the characters and what they're going to be doing. And kind of this crazy world where we have an antagonist. We have the Lunarians that are trying to harvest them and take them to the moon. Okay. We have these characters that are pretty much immortal as long as they stay together, but they're brittle gemstones. Okay. And then we have this conflict of Foss and Cinnabar trying to find their place in the world when the world they live in is actively rejecting them based on who they are. All right. Got it. Great. I'm excited. Yes, please. So I'm super excited to dive into this series. This first episode was just giving us the tip of the iceberg, and I'm ready to see how we go all in future episodes. So I'm excited to hear your comments down below. Please, no spoilers, but I'm sure if there are questions, the show will give me answers, and I will cross those bridges as they arrive. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'm back real soon to talk more about Land of the Lustrous. Bye!